Steven Crowder with Fox News and all sorts of other stuff. Breitbart has posted a video, Jesus versus Muhammad. It's his second installation of such a thing. Steven, what are you – obviously there's a little humor. There's a lot of fact. What are you trying to accomplish?
Listen, I think we need to we need to cut through the bull crap here, Michael. And people love to say, oh, Christians aren't perfect, Muslims aren't perfect. I acknowledge all of that and get to the root cause and boil it down to comparing Jesus versus Muhammad. You go to them, you go to the model.
What's the goal? What do you want to accomplish?
The goal is to show people the truth behind why people are killing in the name of Allah and Muhammad. Liberals love to defend them and say, well, they're not. These are just extremists. They're not extremists. If people follow Muhammad's teachings, they're likely going to support this. It's very likely they could end up acting these out, if not thinking that way. And so this video boils it down. It's designed to educate folks who otherwise might not listen. And it's designed to encourage people to read the last thing I say in this video is, listen, go read the New Testament. Go read the Quran in its entirety. Go do this for yourself and tell me that there isn't a contrast. Too many people out there tell folks, well, I know something. I'm a professor or I'm accredited. What I'm saying is no. Let's not try and talk about certification or accreditation or who should be teaching what. Go out and read these books for yourselves. When you do, you will be shocked and you won't be misled by the mainstream media anymore. It's impossible once you've read the Quran and the Hadith. It's impossible.
What do you believe, Steven Crowder is our guest, what do you believe is the misleading by the American press and why? What interest do they have in misleading us?
Well, they try and act as though they try and create a moral equivalency between Christianity and Islam, between Christians and Muslims, and there just isn't. And there's no more pure example of that than comparing Jesus to Muhammad. When someone does what they do in London, and they're killing someone who we don't know who the guy who was killed. We don't know. At some point he may have spoken out against Islam. When a person is killing someone who is not fidel to Allah, they are enacting Allah and Muhammad's will. That's what they were told to do. When someone who's a Christian goes out and bombs an abortion clinic, and by the way, the media loves to blow those up, we're talking single-digit numbers across the United States as far as occurrences of that happening. Single-digit numbers. When a Christian goes out and kills people who are non-Christians, that is something that Jesus specifically condemned, outlined not to do. There is a very, very stark contrast, and the media wants to muddle those waters. They want to blur those lines and create a moral equivalency. And it's not an accurate one, and it's only one that can be drawn by either people who are ignorant or people who are stupid.
So where do we go with this? Steven Crowder, Fox News Channel. We've posted it to our Facebook page and to our Twitter handle, and it'll be posted in a moment to michaelberry.com. Our website is down. So let's say people do their research. They come to the same conclusion you do. What do you hope they would then do with that?
Well, again, I'm not a politician. I'm not assuming that everyone is a politician who can enact laws. But I think if you get people to do the research and at first start reading books, they're going to realize that they've been lied to, and they're going to start being able to use their own minds to think critically. I think that's most important, especially as it relates to issues of life and death, like the crazy moon cult that is Islam. So, I just want people to think about it. I want people to read it. That's enough for me. When people start reading the information for themselves, and if they read the Quran and they read the verses that say slay them wherever you find them, and they read the parts of the Hadith that say search out every Jew and kill them until the rock says there's a Jew hiding behind me, kill him. If they read that and say they're fine with it, then okay, as long as they read it and they're making an informed decision.
This is a very serious video about a very serious topic. Jesus versus Muhammad is a provocative title, but there is quite a bit of information imparted in a short amount of time, and you sort of play out these scenes, and you show a 9-year-old girl, which is pretty powerful. But you seem to choose, Steven, to do this in a sort of comic way. Is that to sort of lower the stress or to get people to pay more attention? What are you trying to do there?
Well, listen, I'm a comedian. That's how I started out. I'm a guy who tells jokes to drunks and clubs and hopefully doesn't get too many vegetables tossed at him. If you were to tell me I would be on Fox News a few years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. It just sort of happened organically. There weren't any other 22-year-old conservatives in the market. The famous quote, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know if the Gold Bond head-on roll-on headache creams or the self-lubricating pocket catheter commercials all across conservative media didn't let people on.
What about gold hoarding?
The demo swayed a little older, Michael. But,
are you suggesting that your drinking buddies aren't in hover rounds?
No, I'm not. But, I hope they do use a hover round to get to the Grand Canyon because apparently that's the most efficient way to do so. Here's the deal. Comedy is a rubber-tipped sword. It's a way to make a point without drawing blood, and it's a very effective way to make a point. I always use this analogy. If you were to have Thomas Sowell, who is likely the most brilliant writer on economics and race relations, I would argue of the last 50 years, you could argue the last century. You were to put him across from Jon Stewart at a table, have them debate, and have a general American audience of people who are my age, my peers, judge who won the debate. It doesn't matter what was said, Jon Stewart will win every time.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You are absolutely right. This is a ministry for me, and I don't do funny, but people who do on our side generally don't get the support. And I'll tell you, what happens is a lot of our folks are so frightened by what's going on and so aware and so informed that they think you can never laugh in your presentation or else you're not taking it seriously enough. And I tell them, you are losing audiences when you chew nails as you make these pronouncements. And that's what I love about your work.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I always tell people, listen, and it's not that I'm anything special. It's that I'm really the only one doing it at my age. But if you were to take the power of Washington, D.C. over the power of Hollywood, you need a CAT scan. Barack Obama, the politician, was never elected. Barack Obama, the celebrity, the guy who was on The Daily Show, the guy who texted Scarlett Johansson his VP choice, the guy who had the Black Eyed Peas write a song about him. The celebrity Barack Obama was elected to office. And that all translates into messaging and being relevant and using entertainment to make a point. And conservatives have ignored it, and that's why you see the demo in the conservative realm. Like I said, these people are more concerned with buying gold or self-lubricating pocket catheters because it's just an older demo. There's nothing wrong with being older, but at a certain point you have to say, wait a second, we're losing an entire generation forever, and because of our own self-righteousness, we're okay with that? That doesn't fly with me.
It's interesting. Steven Crowder's our guest, and I have about 45 seconds left, but I started going to comedy clubs and studying stand-up comedians because I enjoy it, and I go through little phases where I dork out on things. And I was shocked as you listened to an entire comedy routine, an entire set that comedians would go through, how political they were and how engaged the audience was. And I thought to myself, that's far more powerful than any town hall meeting. They're actually taking low information, independent voters and swinging them to the left through humor. Would that we had more Steven Crowders. Thanks for the work you do, sir.
Thank you. God bless, sir.
All right, Steven Crowder. You can find him on YouTube. Follow his stuff. He's very funny, very funny. And in the midst, I like the term, the rubber-tipped sword. In the midst of that comedy, you're going to see some things exposed that other people couldn't dare expose. I think he's on to something. Let's talk to our listeners and hear from Shirley Kulicker coming up next.
Vote Democrat. It's easier than working. The Michael Berry Show.